Hello, I'm Jeff Stevens from oregonplex, and welcome to the April 2026 West Side of Bend, Oregon Plex Market Report. Plex Market Report is 2, 3, and 4 unit properties. That is the single only thing that I do as a real estate agent because it's the type of property that I've built my own investing portfolio on. And I own dozens of these types of units myself. I like to be an inch wide and a mile deep with my clients, and that's why I put together these Plex reports for you. So let me cover some of the highlights of what we see on the west side of Bend for April. If you would take just a second to subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. And to like this video, I would really, really appreciate that. Okay. So on the west side of Bend, we always have kind of a smaller data set because there just aren't as many of these properties in this area. So currently we have 6 properties that are active on the market. That's pretty similar to what we saw the last couple times that this report was created as well, very similar to just a month ago. In the last 30 days, one single new property has come on the market and it has become active. So our average price per unit that is being asked right now is 456,000 compared to 412 before that, and then in the 500s before that. So we have to remember that when it comes to things like averages with a small data set, it's not statistically significant, right? If this was 6,000 active listings, we'd be able to say very accurately what that average is, and the average probably wouldn't move tremendously from month to month or report to report. But in this case, the reports can move a little bit because the overall data set is low. But this is still very useful to see kind of on a general average basis where are people pricing those properties. That also has us around 427 per square foot, which is very, very, very close actually to 433 last time and 428 in August of last year. A little lower than the 470 in June of last year, but very similar. So we're looking in the low 400s on a price per square foot basis. Current days on market during this report is 73 for these active ones, which again isn't actually it's not too bad. 130 last time is getting to be kind of a high days on market on average for listed properties. So 73 is not too bad. When we look at what's pending right now, there's only one pending currently, and it looks like there's usually only about 1 or 0 pending generally, which kind of makes sense again because there's the quantity of properties in this category on the west side of Bend is not tremendously high. In the last 180 days, how many have been withdrawn, expired, or canceled? This is my own little curiosity that I throw into my reports here because I always want to know how many sellers are floating properties out onto the market just to sort of see if maybe they can find a buyer. Not necessarily really sincerely and earnestly trying to sell their property, but just floating it out there and seeing kind of how it goes, like an experiment, a fishing trip, as I like to call it. They're just fishing to see if they can find a buyer. Well, and there's, to be fair, there's probably more storylines for why properties get withdrawn, expired, or canceled. But to me, it's always interesting to see. And in the last 6 months, we had 7. In the 6 months previously to that, or the rolling 6 months that ended in March rather than April, we had 7 as well. Before that, the numbers were quite a bit lower, but it does look like there are some good attempts to sell West Side Bend plexes right now. So let's look at the closed transactions because this is always where we see the most kind of this most solid data, right? This isn't speculation. This is what has actually happened. This isn't people floating out properties for sale and seeing what they might get. These are transactions that actually have closed. So we have seen 4 close in the last 180 days, which is the same quantity that we've had the last couple of times we've looked at this report. An average price per unit of 420, which is very similar to what it was in March, which kind of makes sense because they would share a similar data set 6 months back from March. Now we're looking 6 months back from April. But previously, these numbers fluctuated a lot, actually. In August of last year, that price per unit was 569, but in June of last year, it was 333. Again, we have to remember statistical significance is not our friend in a small data set like this. And back in June of last year, we only had one, this whole data set for closed sales was only one. So anyway, we're back to $420,000 per unit. Price per square foot of 344, 347. Again, very similar numbers. We've seen a little bit higher in the last couple times, but right now we're in that 340 some mid 300s we can call it. And average days on market now in the last 6 months, I find this pretty interesting. In the last 6 months, the average days on market for these four closed deals is only 22 days on market. That in today's context is very, very short. I mean, look back up here. Current days on market is 73, and the ones that worked, in other words, got done in 22 days. Now, were these people underpricing their properties? Maybe a tiny bit, but they got the job done quickly, which is presumably, what you want to do when you sell. You just put it on the market because you actually have decided you do want to sell, and you're assertive about it. Hopefully, not underpricing and fire sailing the property, but hopefully making a sincere and concerted effort to get it sold. And it does close or goes pending rather quickly and closes after that. So 22 is a surprisingly low number to me here. 34 was a pleasant number, and you can see the numbers were higher in the last year as well. So that's what's going on the west side of Bend with 2, 3, and 4 unit properties. If you have a 2, 3, 4 unit property, if you are wanting to buy a 2, 3, or 4 unit property, and you'd like to talk to somebody who only does this, I'm not going to be useful to talk to about houses or bigger properties. I mean, I can talk to you about them, but in terms of providing the service, this is all I do. 2, 3, and 4 unit properties, inch wide, mile deep. That's how I like to go. If I could be of service to you, please do reach out. But again, if you wouldn't mind, like the video, subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot. And hopefully we'll make sure you see the next one of these videos. Okay, I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks so much.